How's everybody doing today? And I want to thank you for stopping by and learning a little bit more about myself. My name is Rick Kaufman, and I'm going to kind of explain to you my story. But first of all, you know, I run and operate a couple different sites. I've been a best-selling Amazon author of 3 different books. I'm not a great author by no means, but I've had some success in that area. I've also operated several brick and mortar businesses, 6-figure businesses. I've been an online entrepreneur now for probably close to about 9 years. But what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about my program, give you a little bit about my story, where I come from, and where I'm going. And you know, one of the things is my first website being afathersloss.com. And when I tell you my story, I think you'll understand that a little bit. The other website I run is 90days-to-success.bmm.com. Those 2 websites, even though they have a very different name, they really kind of mesh together as far as my mission and what it is and my purpose. Okay, here's the thing. I believe that we all become disempowered through life events. Okay, how do we go when these life events and these situations happen? They cause us to lose focus. They cause us to feel stuck, not to be good enough. You don't feel worthy. You just, you know, have lost your way. And I'll kind of explain to you my story a little bit here in just a few minutes to kind of give you an idea of exactly what I'm talking about here. You know, I coach people through tough times in business. Because no matter how successful you are, where you are in your life, your relationships, your personal situations, and your business, life events happen, okay? They can be big or small. It really doesn't matter. But to you, that is the most important event in your life, is because it's affecting you dramatically. So here's the first question I want to ask you. Have you ever said to yourself, I'm not the same person that I once was? You know, for me, it's been a 23-year-long journey. I've said that many, many times, that I'm not the same person. I am not the same person I was way back when, you know, and that's, you know, that's just kind of telling, really. It's like, of course, I'm not the same person. I don't look the same. I don't feel the same. There's a lot of things about me that have changed. Let me put it to you this way. We all know, you know, we have our heroes and our warriors go off to battle. They see things. They have events happen to them, and they go through certain situations while they're there. They come back home, and they're not the same person. They're not the same person physically. They're not the same person mentally. Their personalities change. A lot of things about it. But many of them learn to adapt. They take the lessons that they've learned through these situations and they apply them. And many of them go on to lead very successful careers, political careers, run successful businesses, coach and teach and inspire so many people. There's a lot of other people that may have physical handicaps. They weren't born that way, but somehow something's happened, you know, through their life event, and they've been able to inspire something. Here's the thing. If you feel you're stuck, I want you to change. One tip I want to give you right now. I want you to change that being stuck is nothing more than a metaphor. We say metaphors to ourselves all the time, and these metaphors go into our brain, our subconscious mind. It's how we internalize these. If you're stuck, a car gets stuck in a snowbank. It gets stuck. It can't move. It can't get out of where it's at. Okay? You're not stuck. You just happen to be kind of in the same place that you might have been yesterday. I want you to change your thinking. Instead of saying you're stuck, it's real simple. How do you get unstuck? Well, you move. Okay? You know, I heard Tony Robbins put it this way. There's a couple people, when they were building the Hoover Dam, there was 2 people that fell down into the dam, and they got stuck there, and they're still there today. So you're not stuck. It's a metaphor. Okay? So that's my tip for you through this process right now, to begin to change the way you think about things. But, you know, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. You know, it really, and I want to take you back in the time, and it really goes back to when I was 14 years old. I remember sitting around the kitchen table with my father. You see, my father was a very successful business person. He worked for a company as a vice president, and he also had some side businesses that him and my mother were very successful with. And my sister was an excellent student, straight A student, honor roll, all those things. I, on the other hand, was not a great student. I was compared to my sister, and I hated that. I kind of rebelled against that, I guess, against the, the status or the teachers and all those things, because I wasn't a good student. And so one of the things was I always wanted to make my father proud of me. And that was my goal, that I wanted my father to be proud, and I wanted to be like my father. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to go into business, but I didn't want to go to college in order to do that. So I then turned around and became kind of an overachiever, and I met my high school coach in sports, and that was my soccer coach back in the early 70s. And I turned around and I really excelled in soccer. He taught me the work ethic I needed to be successful, how to win, how to go out and win, how to turn around, and he instilled in me the fundamentals that I had to be good at to be able to play the game. And then he taught me that once I teach you the fundamentals, you then have to go home and you have to practice these fundamentals. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect, right? And then prepare for the game. And then once I would go to the game, I would see my opponents. My opponents were just people that were there to stop me from reaching my goals. And so I learned how to play through that. I kind of went through a transformation when I go onto the field of play. It's like the field of battle or whatever the case is. And I was there to win. These people were there to stop. Well, this work ethic had carried me through all my life until, I had a business. And I had 2 stores with some employees, a brick and mortar business. I was making, decent 6-figure income, doing rather well. And one day I remember receiving a phone call, and that phone call came and told me to go to the hospital. I went to the hospital, and they turned around and told me that it was my 3-year-old daughter. My 3-year-old, see, earlier that morning I dropped my 3-year-old daughter off at the babysitter, and they were at the city pool. And they found her 8 feet away from a lifeguard floating face down. She was unresponsive when we got to the hospital. They had care flighted her to the children's hospital. It took us a little over an hour drive. By the time I got there, they had already pronounced her dead. You could only imagine how you might feel as a parent. I'm not going to sit here and try to describe it to you. I mean, that in itself is a whole nother story. But I was a failure as a father. My job as a father was to protect my family, protect my daughter. That has haunted me all my life. Okay? And I was such a failure as a father, and I didn't know how to fix it. I remember kneeling over my daughter's casket and crying in the day of her funeral and just saying, God, please take me. Bring her back. But I know that can't happen. And it's not going to happen. I have to learn to deal with this. So I bury myself in my work. Many years go by, and only to have my wife come home and tell me she doesn't love me anymore. She wants a divorce, and she turns around and says she just wants out of the picture. I didn't know how to fix that problem. Couldn't fix the death of my daughter. Can't fix the death of my marriage, and that throws me back into the grief. It throws me back into all that. Only way I knew out is only thing I knew is I wanted out. So I turned to suicide, but the first time I couldn't do it. The second time I was much more serious. It was in the middle of the night, and I went to my store, and I was sitting in my office in the middle of the night, like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And I had a gun. I had a handgun revolver, and I laid it down right there on the desk. And I was staring at it in the middle of the night, and I realized that it would be much quicker just to end it right now and just do it that way. But I couldn't do it because there was no bullets in the gun. That was a blessing in disguise, because I know now that if there was bullets in that gun, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. And I hated my life. I hated my business. I hated everything about it. So I turned around and I sold my business. I got out from underneath that. my marriage ended, and I went and reinvented myself. You see, my sister was a very successful financial advisor. So I thought to myself, I could do that. I could be a financial advisor. So I reinvented myself. I learned what I had to do to get my insurance license, my investment licenses, and mortgage licenses, and I went into the financial services and things. Was rather successful with that. I built a nice business up to the point where I had my own office, and I had a team of people, and I was training a lot of agents and associates to duplicate what I've been doing, and I was growing an agency and a business. And my national sales director looked at me and, he wanted me to build that to $1 million business and take that office to $1 million and more. And so we put a plan together to do that, only to have me realize that this wasn't what I was looking for. It's not me. It's not what it's all about. I was chasing the money and all this, the fame and success to make my father proud or make somebody proud, but I wasn't proud of myself. And so I walked away. Just told him, and I walked out the door. Only to reinvent myself once again, and this time I became a truck driver of all things. And I jumped in that truck and I traveled all over the country. About 30, I think it was 36 states over the course of about a year and a half. And but while I was driving the truck, I was, it hit me all of a sudden. Well, before it, let me back up a little bit. Before it hit me, I had received a phone call, actually. I received a phone call that my father had cancer and less than a year to live. And I had to have a talk with my father. And when I had a talk with my father, this is what he told me. He said he was very proud of me. He'd always been proud of me. He knew I was different than my sister. He knew I had entrepreneurial spirit and I could do whatever it is I said I could do. He said I had great work ethic and I had a gift. But one thing he did share with me, he said, remember when you graduated high school? He said, I told you that it was time, once you graduated school, it was time for you to go to school. That life was going to be your biggest teacher of all. Life was going to throw you a lot of curveballs. It was going to take you along a lot of different paths. And it's your job to learn from these lessons in life. Oh, how true he was, but I didn't realize it. Now, going back to the other part where I was a truck driver, and then it hit me what my father was saying to me. I was to tell my story, and I was to write a book, and I was to tell my story. And the story I chose was a story about my daughter, and I created this father's loss. And I created this, and I started to write a book called The Father's Loss. I never published the book. I never really, I think I wrote the first 5 or 6 chapters, but out of that spun several other smaller books and some other things, and I kind of, mirrored several other successful books, but kind of put my story spin on it. The only thing is, I didn't really know how to tell my story. I didn't really know how to communicate my story effectively and be able to do that. And I then turned around and I really, I guess you could say, I still was searching for something. I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to help people. When I was in financial services, that's the best part of that job, was I was able to help people through certain situations. But I also had a bankruptcy in my background, so I've been bankrupt too. And so, these are all life events that kind of just build on top of each other, and I was just not worthy of doing these things. I wasn't good enough. I saw myself as a failure. And how could I teach somebody or help somebody through a process if I'm a failure? So I finally met my coach and my mentor, Ted McGrath, and I went through his story process, and I developed my story that I'm telling you now, and I began to peel the layers back. And I start to have this breakthrough. I really started to have the breakthrough with my father before he passed away, what he told me. But I didn't really internalize it. I then started putting some of those things to practice when I felt like, God was talking to me about, I was getting the message that I was supposed to write a book. I was supposed to tell a story. But I really didn't know what, how to go about that, or exactly if it should be about my daughter or this or that. One of the things I learned was nobody really cares, okay, about my story, really, okay? What they care about is the results that I was able to get from my story. In other words, can you duplicate my results? Can you get the same transformation that I got? The answer to that question is yes. You definitely can get the same transformation. See, going back to, I believe we all have life events. We all have these life events that cause us to become disempowered, lose our way. And how do we go to living an empowered life? You know, being empowered and reaching for your goals, or just knowing what you want. Being the person that you once was way back when. The biggest thing is I found the person that I was. And I knew exactly what I was to do, and I knew exactly what I had to do, and I knew exactly how to go about doing it. And so I began to peel these layers back, and I realized that my father and my coach were they were the two biggest people that really influenced my life in the beginning. That my daughter's death was an accident. It was out of my control. Even though I dropped her off, it was out of my control. I was able to forgive myself for that. I was able to, you know, yeah, I could have been a better husband, but it's past. It's gone. I got to let go of it. So I learned to let go of that and then move on. You know, I'm remarried. And, you know, very happy and very successful and very, you know, and I really know that it doesn't matter what other people think anymore. It really doesn't matter what they do. It's you know, I'm not the 25-year-old kid saying I want to be a millionaire anymore. I'm a 55-year-old kid, I guess, who wants to be a millionaire and be successful all over again. And I found that person that I wanted to be, and I put together this program. And I take people through my story formula, okay? In other words, to develop your empowering story, to find out your gifts, your purpose, what it is that maybe has caused you to be blocked or stuck, or whatever those metaphors are that you use, okay? But how to get around that, how to turn around, and you know, you have a choice in life. You can change directions by simply turning around and taking one step in the other direction. You know, a lot of times they say it's a mind shift, but it's really not a shift, a mind shift. It's more of a body shift. In other words, it's about movement. It's about getting moving, get going. Just doing, get going, and go do it. Okay? And so I take people through that process. And then we go through the communication process. And then we build on a blueprint process. And we build on to that. And then we take you to the next level and the next level, wherever that needs to go. If it's business related, we work on the business. If it's personal, relationship related, we're going to work on those things too. I'm not a doctor, I'm not anything like that, but you know, if you feel like you're in need of that help, that's not what I do, okay? I'm not going to get down and really analyze anybody. We want to take the time to learn and be able to apply that. So that's what I'm all about. That's what the 90 Days Success is all about. That's what a father's loss. The father's loss is more of a personal site. It's more about personal handling grief, those type of situations, divorce, you know, bankruptcy, all those things. The 90 Days Success is, again, disempowered to empowering millions, but at the same time, it is about, you know, maybe how it affects you in your business life, your job, you know, how to get success, how to turn that around and get success in as little as 90 days. To see results in 90 days. To build on habits in 90 days. Okay? So if that sounds like you, hey, I want to thank you for staying to the end of this video and watching this video. And I've got a gift for you. Okay? Down below you'll see a link here, and the link is for you to go and set a time for us to have a conversation. 45 to 60 minutes. It's totally free. There's no cost. I typically charge a $295 refundable deposit, okay, if we determine, you know, what we go through there. You show up for the call, and I would typically, I would refund your deposit once you show up. It's just to kind of guarantee that the person is serious about the conversation that we're going to have. But for you staying to the end of this video, there is a link there for you to have this conversation with me. Talk about anything you want to talk about. You know, it is your conversation with me. I'm here to listen, to help you. I will ask you a few questions that I feel that are important. The first question would be, what motivated you to have this conversation with me? And what's important to you personally, professionally, and financially? And then we're going to, we're going to find certain things out about you. And we're going to let you talk to me and ask me questions. And then we're going to steer you in the right direction, give you some advice, and maybe coach you along the way. And then we'll see what we can do. If that's something that you feel you'd like to work with me a little bit more, then great. We can work together. If not, it's only time. It's only time. And if you feel life events have caused you to become disempowered, this is what you need. So don't hesitate. Click the link. I look forward to talking to you. But anyways, enjoy the blog and the posts, and make sure you subscribe so you can be updated. Enjoy the pages and share these with friends and family and people that you know, because you never know when somebody's hurting. You never know when somebody's disempowered and just not able to get moving again. So I want to thank you for your time. It's been a little over 21 minutes of your time, and I really appreciate it. And I'm very grateful that you are here. And here's to your success. Here's to your empowerment. And go out, live your life by your terms. Don't let anybody dictate to you how you should live your life. And you go out and empower and live your life and empower others to live theirs. We'll talk to you soon.